Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This is TheSketchMonkey here. Today we're gonna have a look at this. This is a 2023 Chevy Blazer 3LT. It's for sale here at Foundation Chevrolet just outside of Denver. I'm gonna link their full inventory down in the description if you want to go and check that out. So what I want to do in this video is, you know the drill, we're gonna have a look at the beautiful Camaro inspired front end. I really like this design. I think it's a cool looking small SUV, and then we're going to have a look at the side view, the line flow that we have going on here, the rear, the interior, and then we're going to take this for a drive. Before we jump in and talk about the design of this Chevy Blazer, let's talk about some of the spec and tech. You have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder putting out 228 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. You're connected to a 9-speed automatic. This is all-wheel drive. The fuel consumption sits at around 22 city, 27 highway. 0 to 60 is done in 8.4 seconds. And if you're interested in this specific Blazer here, it's going to cost you around $43,000. Starting, of course, with the front-end design. And I think this just looks mean. And normally, I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of brown colors, but this is more like champagne. When you come up close, you can see the metallic flakes in it. It looks pretty cool in this color with the blacked out trim that we have in the grille. And of course, the daytime running lights now sit up here. These are not the headlights. Blazer got into this trend of having bumper headlights, so we have the proper headlights sitting all the way down here, almost lower than the grille. But I think it actually works in this case because it creates a very strong identity up top. You can do whatever you want with this design. Nobody cares. It doesn't have any regulations or function to it. Everything happens with this big headlight that you have here. Why not put it as an intake here instead of having a fake vent here, for example? I think it's a good approach to this specific integration. I do like the line flow that we have. A lot of sharp lines going in, and I feel like American design lately, this is going to be a bit controversial, but I think comparing it to what BMW, Mercedes are doing specifically with their EV lineup, I think American design is stepping it up now and catching up to the old school, aggressive, but still kind of beautiful design that we had of European cars in the 90s and early 2000s. We have a nice sharp line here framing the housing for the headlights, as you can see. Big LED headlight, and of course we talked about the daytime run lights. A detail that I would like to change here though, of course, there's always details that I would like to redesign, are these horns down here, these silver horns in the bottom. I'm not so sure about the integration of those. Not so sure either how I would redesign them. Probably just cut them off here and have, instead of having silver horns, we could have somewhat of a silver lip at the bottom to create a nice base for the rest of the graphics building up. Now we're really up and personal with the new 2023 Chevy Blazer. We don't have a front-mounted camera anywhere, but I'm not so sure that you really need that in this specific car. I don't think a lot of people are going to take this off-road. And as you can see, the bow tie here has some chrome around it. Chevy, they seem to not want to let go of the chrome around the bow tie itself. Same thing on the Silverado ZR2. I'm just gonna black this out just because it would look better in my opinion. This is the only chrome that I have in the car. Everything else is black. These intakes though are all functional. Even this little slot up here, you have holes going into the radiator. Same thing here, but it covered it up right in this area and at the bottom. But all the way down here, you still have open vents for the air to flow nicely and cool this engine. Now Chevy might not want to black out their bow tie in the front end, but one thing they do really well in the front end of a lot of their models is having a clear end point of the hood. You can see that here, a clear cut line straight through one end to the other, and underneath this you have a starting point for the rest of the front end fascia. Same thing on the ZR2 Silverado that I just reviewed, also had a clear starting point with no indents in the hood, weird stuff going on. I really like that. It just makes it a lot cleaner in the front end. Coming around to the side view of the new 2023 Blazer, and this is where it gets interesting. We have 18-inch high gloss wheels, and I don't know what the trend is right now, but it seems to be high gloss wheels like we have here is a very trendy thing to put on new cars today. I would probably want to have these in some sort of gray, because I think the design of the spokes are not too exciting, but still having them like this, I feel like it looks cheaper when you have black wheels on the car. The tires are 235 in width, and then we have some crazy line flow and shoulder lines going on here. So let's have a look at that. I think I managed to find the right angle for you guys for the camera right there, because now the sun is hitting it in the exactly right place that I wanted to show you. the shoulder line here. We have shoulder line connecting to the very corner of the headlights, or in this car, daytime run light, not the headlight up here anymore, going in underneath the blacked out, as you can see, same blacked out gloss that we have on the wheels in the front end, fading into this area. But then he comes back more aggressive than ever down here and shoots out into the rear spoiler, which sends the design off in a very nice way. But we also have a connection with the shoulder line to the rear end graphics with this line. So we have 3 separated shoulder lines connecting to exactly the right spots that I want to see on a car like this. It's a beautiful design, and this upswing kind of makes the car move forward when it's standing still. Cool design by Chevy. However, just because we have some fancy looking shoulder lines going on in the Blazer, that doesn't mean that I want to change a couple of things. For example, have a look at downstairs, what's going on here. Not the biggest fan of this big static looking plastic piece that we have, because it goes parallel. So you have this line going parallel with this line, and what this does, it just doesn't, all the emotion that we have up here completely goes away in the lower part. So I'm going to redesign this and maybe have it add some more dynamics to this design to be in line with what's going on in the rest of the side view. Other than that, we have a blacked out A-pillar here, making it look almost like a visor design that goes around like this. I kind of like the blacked out A-pillar here because it is separated from the rest of the roof up here. It's a separation line. This is a separate piece, so it's not just some wrap that they put on it. And of course, you also have the blacked out trim going around the greenhouse, and this section cutting off the roof, separating it from the rest of the body. This has a bit of an XC40 feel for me. Scandinavian design going on here, which is definitely not a bad thing. Another detail that probably nobody is gonna care about, but that bothers me when I see it, is the Blazer lettering right here. Not the Blazer lettering themselves, but the positioning of it. Look at the height here. This sits exactly in the middle of the height of the door that's body colored. So what I want to do here is maybe move it down a little bit down here, or maybe even up here. I don't care, but don't have it centered like this. It loses all the static dynamic feeling to it. Or maybe even simply just take it away and erase it from the side. Coming around to the rear end of the Blazer, still same thing here as in the front. It's a very clean design. I like that we have this line going on here, creating a nice platform for the bow tie to sit on here. I would definitely like to have this hidden under here. This is big enough to create some sort of mounting point for this and swinging down this way, instead of having it destroying this clean surface that we have up top. But we have a lot of nice chamfers down here, and there are a couple of things that I still would like to redesign in the rear end of the Blazer. Looking further down though, we have dual exhaust pipes from this 228 horsepower engine, and I think it looks pretty nice. Kind of like them in silver in this case. I don't want to have them in black. I'm not sure why. Feels like it just suits a Blazer to have it in normal silver pipes like we have here. Not so sure about the lower part here, so let me tell you what I want to redesign right in this area. Before I jump into the redesign here, let's just have a look closely at these taillights. What a swirly looking thing. It's beautiful. It goes above, underneath each other. This LED strip, I think this is absolutely gorgeous, and it also has a nice foundation chamfer for it, so it feels like it belongs right here because the designers put a nice chamfer and base for it to sit in. So talking about the redesign here, you see these two lines on both sides, on that side, and then you have the same line here. What this long line does is drags the design down to the ground, so it feels almost a little rear heavy when you look at this, specifically with these lines here. And I'm also not a fan of this big plastic, matte plastic area that we have here. So what I want to do is redesign this line and have some sort of line going from here upwards, pointing upwards. So we lift the design up instead of being dragged down like this, and then doing something with this area to remove the long line that we have there and kind of make it feel a little less rear heavy and lift it up by using some line flow in the rear end. I think that's going to help this design, in addition to making the lower black piece body colored. I think also that would make it feel maybe a little bit more upscale. Welcome to the interior of the 2023 Blazer 3LT. So what do you get when it comes to tech? You have keyless entry, keyless starts, these seats 8-way adjustable for the driver, 6-way adjustable for the passenger. The screens and everything in here feels very old school, and you know what? I think this is refreshing. I know I talk a lot about I prefer the old school interiors without a big screen, and that comes back in this case as well. We have analog tachometer, an analog speedometer with some analog gauges for the fuel and temp, etc. But you also have a tiny little 4.2-inch infotainment or display in the gauge cluster to show you all the basic features like range and speed and so on. And then you have this 10.2-inch infotainment screen, which actually looks, I mean, it looks pretty well integrated in this design. We have a nice chamfer going here, a base for it with some buttons for the volume and tuning of the radio, and you also have the on-off button right there. Down here you have all the buttons you need for the climate control being physical, super easy to understand what it is you want to do. You just dial this huge ring to adjust the temperature. This feels almost like a steering wheel, the size of this thing. And of course, if you want to just play around and figure out where the air is flowing, you just got to grab the center of it as we're used to and just angle it to wherever you want it to go. You have the buttons for the fan speed is located right here in the center with some LEDs to show you what level the fan is actually at. I really like this layout. We have soft touch materials up here and also down here, and this, as I said, this integration of the screen feels pretty nice. You have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, everything you want, Wi-Fi hotspot, and it's pretty responsive as well. Nice job, Chevy, to keeping it old school while still keeping it fresh by having this software here. Right to the left of the screen you have the engine start stop button, and further down below these massive jet engines for air vents you have no wireless charging. You just have a compartment for storage right here and a USB, normal USB, USB-C port. Two cup holders in here with this silver trim going around it. The most basic gear lever, which also feels a little old school to me. The rear view camera looks decent. It's a little grainy, but it definitely shows you all the big obstacle that you're gonna have to navigate around if you need it when you're reversing, so no big deal there. To the right of the screen you have the glove box button, and we have a proper sized glove box right there. You don't have a handle for it, so you gotta click this button if you want to open it. Behind the gear lever you have this dial for either you can pick two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive. You have a sport mode in this Blazer. That's where the Camaro soul comes in this car, and you also have an off-road mode right here on the dial, and you can turn on and off the lane keep assist, which I think it's off right now. I like to keep those things off. In the center armrest, you do have some pretty nice storage in here. Let's see what you have for connectivity. You do have a 12-volt cigarette outlet, and that's pretty much it. If you want to use USBs, you're going to have to use these two in the center, either a USB normal one or a USB-C. Steering wheel. This feels like pretty much every single, normal Chevy steering wheel. It's not bad at all, super functional. It's just nothing special about it. We do have some chrome going around here, and I kind of feel like it suits this car to have a little bit of chrome on the inside. You also have the chrome trim here, so it goes in from the chrome around the gauge cluster as well into the steering wheel, and then you have that here as well, and a little bit on this absolutely gorgeous door handle design. Look at the sculpting of this thing, beautiful touch. Gauge cluster, there's really not much to say about the gauge cluster. You can click these arrow buttons to give you some different types of information, navigation, phone settings. You have radio and the battery voltage, and of course the speed and the range. The housing for the gauge cluster is pretty decent. I would maybe even want to have it sit even deeper than this, but at least we have some sort of cap with a dual framing with a soft top up here, and then you have this hard chrome plastic going around it. Up top, look at this, we don't have a sunroof, and as you know, I'm totally okay with that. You can put your shades in here if it's still feels like it's getting a little bit too sunny for you. The doors feel pretty basic. They do have some nice maze pattern going on, so you can have a lot of compartments to put small and bigger stuff and a water bottle if you want that. And that's about it for the front end of this Blazer. Now I'm interested to see, I'm sitting in my normal driving position here at 6'1", so let's jump in and see if I can fit behind myself. Stepping into the back seat here, and no problems at all. I have a lot of space. I feel like I'm sitting a lot higher than we do up front. But that's okay, I still have plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom. I haven't moved the seat from my driving position. Down here you have some nice looking cube vents, and you have a USB-A and a USB-C. So you have a couple of more USB slots back here. We've talked about the exterior, made a couple of changes, small tweaks to the exterior, talked about the interior as well. Now it's time to hear what this inline four sounds like. So let's put it in. We gotta have it in sport mode, obviously, and I don't know if that's gonna make a difference to the exhaust, but let's hear what this sounds like. Okay guys, taking off in the 2023 Chevy Blazer. Still just, I like this interior. I like when it doesn't try to be too many things in one. It's just a clean interior with the analog gauges, but that doesn't bother me. We have an inline four, 2-liter turbocharged with 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 in about 8.2 seconds, and it feels nice to drive. It's not the fastest car. That's not why you buy these cars to begin with. It's basically to have a cool looking crossover SUV, which this is, and have it be a nice styling to it, and just basically take you from point A to point B. But I do like that we have the different drive modes. For example, the sport mode, which I'm in now, and you also have an off-road mode, and of course the four-wheel drive and the two-wheel drive. Very comfortable. I like the styling of this thing. It feels like it is inspired by the Camaro a little bit, which is not a big bad thing. Camaro, unfortunately, they're not gonna do it for so much longer. It's it might even be discontinued right now. Next Camaro, I don't know what that's gonna be, but at least we have some of the styling DNA intact in the crossover SUVs like we have here, and not just let that go to waste and kill the entire DNA of the Camaro, which we have right there, for example. Beautiful convertible in this gray color. It feels like it eats up rough bumps in the road pretty well, and that has to do, of course, with the 18-inch wheels and the pretty thick tires that we have here. And this is probably what I would go for. I would not put some crazy wheels and tires onto this because it's not that type of car. The styling is great. The engine is okay, 0 to 60 in 8.2 seconds. Not the quickest car, but again, that's not what this is about. I really enjoy this. Exterior looks good. The interior feels vintage. I absolutely love this. Is a really cool detail because you don't want to have any problems adjusting the tempo when you're driving, and there is no way you're gonna miss this big second steering wheel that you have down here. Thanks to Foundation Chevrolet here in Denver for providing this vehicle so I can review it for you guys. I'm gonna link their inventory down in the description. And thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy these type of videos, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.